Hi, my name is Christopher Irvin. I'm the great-grandson of George Dawson Sr. In 1924, Thomas Morton arrived on Massachusetts, and he stood against the rules and values against American society. He stayed very conservative to his own values, and consequently, he was exiled. He then wrote a tell-all book, which was eventually banned. Following his book, literature such as Huckleberry Finn and his adventures was banned from schools because of his views on race in America, and schools have challenged this book ever since. It wasn't until 1982 that the Supreme Case of Island Tree School District versus Pico, in which the ruling that school officials cannot ban books solely on their content, that my great-grandfather was about 82 years old and still unable to read at that time. My question for the board and others is, what's so afraid of the book? I understand that sensitivity of speech, as I am too an educator, but I do not understand removing or altering any parts of history. My great-grandfather was 10 years old when he saw his best friend lynched for a crime he did not commit, and at the time, neither of them could read and write. One of the reasons was because of the laws placed in this country, of the Jim Crow laws that America had in place at the time. I thought America has grown past that. But as I heard that the discussion about the removal of a certain chapter that stood in his memory is in debate, that seems that we have not moved past the Jim Crow laws. It seems that the truth is indeed scary to face even today. In West Africa, we have a saying which says Sankofa. Sankofa means to go back and fetch it. So I urge everyone on this panel, and I urge all the parents who are listening, to go back and fetch it, to look at our ideas, look at our history, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and go back and teach, and not be afraid to teach for what it's worth. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Irvin.
The last speaker is Arnold Yuen.
Can I make a statement before? So, Mr. Irvin, I just want to, first of all, I want to thank you for coming forward and speaking tonight. I know that there was a lot of information out there about this situation over the last 2 or 3 weeks that obviously took off on social media that was very inaccurate, and so I just want to address the truth. I don't know, you probably haven't had a chance to see what I put out last week. And maybe in the audience may not have seen what I put out, but certainly there was a lot of misinformation. We obviously value Mr. Dawson. We appreciate you, the family, for being involved. I know you've been involved on the campus for many years working with students. We value his legacy. Obviously, the school is named after him, and we want to continue to respect that and teach our kids about why that campus is named the way it is. Certainly, the teacher that was asking to utilize the book actually had some concerns himself about Chapter 1, and so he submitted that to our review committee, which we have. We have a committee that meets every summer that goes over all the books that are going to be required readings for our campuses. And so what they do is they go through, they read, they evaluate, they make decisions based on that. But I can tell you, this book was never suggested this book be banned. It was never suggested that the kids don't read this book. Basically what it was is a conversation with the principal, is what the committee recommended, have a conversation with the principal to look at the best way from an age appropriateness standpoint to teach this to our kids. So we're certainly not trying to eliminate Chapter 1, but you can't. The challenge is, do you allow 7th grade boys and girls to have that conversation without the facilitation of a teacher? And so what it was is, how do we best instructionally teach Chapter 1 to our kids and allow them to process that along with the rest of the book? So that's what it was about. This teacher actually submitted that to our committee for review and actually voiced the same concerns about Chapter 1 and so that's what the committee suggested, is we take it back, let the principal work with that teacher. And that's very much in line with our EFA policy, which was adopted this summer, to review all instructional materials for age appropriateness. By no means are we trying to change history or change what occurred, but we do have to look. We have a responsibility as a district to look at age appropriateness and content and those type of things, and how best to deliver that instructionally. So I just want to be clear that we value you, certainly value Mr. Dawson, and we are certainly not trying to do anything with that book that's not respectful of him and honoring him. So thank you for coming tonight and speaking.
So my comment to that, if I can. So understanding that and how we address the book was written specifically for youth. And like I say, my grandfather was 12 years old. My understanding that middle school age is about 12, 13 years old. I know because I have once worked with them. And so if there's any problem, how can we go as far as moving forward to where we can actually adopt a way to where it can be taught to children, so this discussion never happens again?
And it will be taught. It'll just be facilitated with that teacher. That teacher
That's what I'm saying. So how can we move forward to see how it is taught and taught properly? So what discussion can we have? Either you, me, you, the board, me, and some others that we can actually get together and sit down and sit how it can be taught correctly, and it's not sit there and sugarcoat it.
So I think that's a conversation that the principal on the campus is having right now with the teacher, and certainly we can ask that she reach out to you as members of the family and talk through that, certainly. I think that's appropriate.
Thank you, Mr. Irvin.